All right, what's going on, everyone? Today we are going to be talking about Holochain. Hey everyone, I'm Jeremy, and if you want to follow along with my journey as I try to build wealth for my family, then subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so you don't miss a thing. All right, so today we are talking about something called Holochain. Technically, it's not a blockchain. It is a cryptocurrency built into it. And it's sort of an interesting technology, and I want to share a little bit about what I've learned. So let's jump over here. Okay, so this is just a couple things. It took me a second to sort of wrap my mind around what exactly Holochain is or what they're planning to do. They've got a website. It's called holochain.org. And what's interesting about it is that technically it's not a blockchain. So in a typical blockchain, everybody shares the same exact ledger. You know, it's every transaction is shared between everybody that's involved with the blockchain. That's not the case with Holochain. Their aim is to build a sort of a hosting platform where you can build apps upon it, and technically each type of app has their own. It's not a blockchain, it's a hash table, distributed hash table. But let me sort of go through what I've found. First things first, go to holochain.org. They've got a great video that sort of explains it. I'm going to use a few of their slides in this to sort of talk a little bit about it. Here's essentially how it works. So Holochain implements what they're calling a distributed hash table. Think of it sort of like a mesh, not a chain. And what's neat about it is it will essentially be able to build distributed applications. Think social media, think things like that. And the unique part is that each agent, so let's assume that each of these little blue-hatted people is one of us. For each application, the agent is the one that maintains a list of their activity. So for instance, if it's a social media app, every post that is made by them, comment, like, whatever, is done within their, I'm not even sure what they're calling that, their node, I think is what they're calling it. And it's signed, obviously, with their private key. And as they add items onto it, obviously their chain of activity grows. The neat thing about it too is that, so if you look at it in this sense right here, as they're building, commenting, doing things on this particular social media app, in fact, let me move this over here and let me see if I can, like that. There you go, that's a little bit better. So basically, everything that they're doing on the chain is signed with their private key, so it's verified that it's actually them. And then there is a sort of a backup or snapshot added to this distributed hash table. So for instance, if this node goes down, maybe your computer died or you're offline at the moment, there's still a backup on the hash table, so if this guy's looking at something you posted, they're seeing it off of here. They have built-in validation. So it's essentially the way that Holochain is working is they're sort of this global ecosystem, and then you can build individual apps off of the system. And each app that you build, you can sort of build your own validation and rules that you want to govern your particular application. They call that DNA. And so each app, there's obviously a global DNA, and any of the sub-apps cannot violate whatever the global DNA rules are. You can make yours more open as far as not restricting as much, or you can really confine your validation rules and lock them down. It's really up to whoever's building the app. And by doing that, then any new data that comes onto the hash table, so if we're thinking of this as a bad player that has hacked their node software to make it do things that it's not supposed to, well, when that data comes in, it gets validated based on these data rules, and all of these nodes say, okay, this isn't right, this isn't correct, and so they can basically block that node, block that item, and then they can actually share information amongst themselves to say, hey, this is a bad actor. Watch out for the data coming from him. And here's what's really interesting with this. Because it's a framework for distributed apps, the nodes can basically, all these agents, they can function on multiple different distributed hash tables, meaning that it's sort of an identity in a way, because you can set up your account, and let's just, for the sake of argument, say that this is Twitter, this is Facebook, and this is Instagram. You can basically function on all three of these from your node, and you're operating on multiple different apps, yet it's still you, it's still your private key, and it doesn't change. Nobody can pretend to be you, because it's still your private key and your public key joined together. The other thing that I find really interesting is that this is completely distributed. So you do not, it essentially takes away the censorship that could be happening. So all of these apps could be built in such a way that there is no central governing authority that can just say, hey, take that down, because it can't be taken down. It's distributed across thousands of nodes with this distributed hash table model. I think that this is going to be the future as far as how applications will be built in the future, because it reduces processing power. And not only that, is it removes this censorship. Think about some of these restrictive governments. They really would have no authority, no way to block something like this, or force these companies to remove or censor individual items, because there is no way to do that. It's distributed in such a way that it protects and prevents that. The other thing that I found interesting in this presentation is, though Holochain is not a blockchain, you could actually build a blockchain on top of Holochain, which I find interesting. And in fact, one of the key developers basically says he's going to build a Bitcoin type application right on top of it, just to prove the model. If we go back here, I want to go back to, this is Crypto News, article I found on Crypto News. And essentially, it's just a unique way of doing it, because you're no longer using the consensus model. You're not using the proof of work model. Each agent is sort of maintaining their own transactions, but they're verified based on that, what they call DNA, the rules that are in place, that everybody else can verify that those transactions are legit. So here's what they say. This is Crypto News. Planned range of applications that could be built. Email applications, makes sense. Messaging apps. Again, what's cool about the idea of this is you couldn't be censored. There's no way to be censored on this type of app. How does it deal with security and privacy? Well, one, it removes third-party intermediaries. So it's not like somebody could come in and just shut you down, because it's built on this global network. There is literally no way to do that. You think about what some of these companies have dealt with recently, with being kicked off of hosting providers. That goes away because it's built on the Holochain framework. There is no way. Now, could a node say they didn't want to host that particular application? Sure, but then you've got thousands of others who likely would be willing to do it. So if we come down here and look at what is the purpose of Hot Token, which is currently what it is, and basically they say that it's a placeholder. Once the system launch is complete, the ERC20 token, which is what the Holo token is, will be redeemable for Holo fuel at a 1-to-1 ratio. So basically you're buying Hot token now, but it will convert into Holo fuel when everything is fully implemented. Hot token was focused on a month-long ICO, March and April 2018. So this is, I found interesting. What is Holochain? Holochain is a framework for creating and powering distributed applications, incorporating peer-to-peer content distribution, cryptography, and hash tables. The data integrity engine, which transactions are immutable, meaning unchangeable, and users control their own identity and data chain. So that's essentially what they are trying to build, is a giant database type application where you create your account and you can function on multiple applications that's all hosted within the Holochain ecosystem. That's all I got today. Thanks so much for watching. If you haven't seen this video over here, go check that out. I will see you there. And as always, I'll see you on the next video.